Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us. We are live again. Here we are on a Sunday afternoon. Just finished episode about cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. It's kind of a new topic for us. We've done one other story that addresses the same topic. It's certainly a rough one, a miserable kind of ordeal for everyone. So I see we have a few people who've already joined us. So who's here? I'm guessing most of the people that have joined us came over here from the premiere. So feel free to chime in and let us know what you thought of this most recent episode. Hello, Alejandra. Glad to see you here. Hope things are going well for you. Appreciate you being here. I think you know our storytellers, right? You've met them, or maybe been in some Nezzy. Wow, Nezzy. So cool that you are here with us too. So the two people that have spoken up so far, they're storytellers. They're featured in stories on our channel. And so a hearty welcome to them. I thought we would start out by just putting some questions out to everyone in the audience, that if anyone has any questions for me about Texas Pictures, or about this most recent story, or upcoming stories, or upcoming events, whatever, just throw them out there while I have my coffee. So this most recent premiere, this is one that we recorded in Houston at, at a space provided to us by Clear Point Church, which is a great facility, and they're wonderfully supportive of the work that we're doing, and and we're very grateful to them. We recorded. I'm I'm gonna guess 8, maybe 9 stories during that event. Two of them featured doctors, medical professionals. Kimberly says, "Glenn, I was hoping Melissa will join us, my friend," and I think she will. Maybe she already has and just hasn't joined the chat yet. So we have some upcoming stories that are going to be pretty interesting. There's several cannabis, or several fentanyl stories that are in the works right now and should be published over the next week or so. One either tomorrow or Tuesday, I believe, and then uh, skipping a day every day the rest of the week. Basically, that's our plan. We'll see how that works out. Alejandra says Gladys mentioned they've tried different types of treatments for their son. And as a mom who didn't have a chance to seek treatment, my heart breaks for them. Their type of pain is very similar to mine. Alejandra, I'm sure it is. It's a lonely, terrible kind of pain, because it certainly seems hard to connect with people who have similar experiences that can kind of guide you through it and offer that peace of mind that comes from knowing you're not alone. And so, yes, you can certainly see the pain in the parents' faces when they talk about this journey that they've been on with their son. And you can only imagine what the ordeal is like for the son. Imagine the frustration of being so sick and so debilitated where you can't really do much of anything, and you want to do something, but you're kind of trapped in this thing with this compound of additional difficulties, the stigma involved, and the feeling of shame or guilt or both. It's got to be really difficult. And so I think it's wonderful when people like Alejandra and others in this community, this cannabis affected community, can join together and work together to help each other and to help those who just don't know what kind of potential risks are out there. And certainly there's plenty of people who don't want to know. We hear from a lot of people on our channel who are adamant defenders of cannabis, and we're grateful for them. It's important that there be that other side represented in some kind of way, because there's a lot of people out there who are very pro cannabis, and the industry is certainly very pro cannabis because there's money in it. So what I found is there's some strange things, some I suppose they're funny kind of consistencies among many of the cannabis defenders. And some of the consistencies is comments that come from cannabis defenders. First off, they are far more likely to contain misspelled words. That's a thing. I see so many comments. We average, I don't know, 1,000 comments a week, something like that. I can actually tell you, because I'm going to look, because I want to be accurate here. And well, I think I can look. I know I can look, because we get a lot of comments, and there are consistencies among comments. About 3,000 comments every 28 days. So 800, 750 comments a week. And we also find that a lot of cannabis defenders will they'll have problems with sentence structure. I mean, not picky grammar police kind of things, but basic stuff like 7 or 8 lines of text with no periods, no punctuation of any kind. And I'm not saying that other people don't do that. They do. And other people certainly misspell words. But the frequency of that kind of thing is far, far higher with comments from people that are defending cannabis. Just crazy. It is predictable. Black Rain says, for some for someone's actual health and life to be in jeopardy over smoking cannabis and they continue to smoke, there has to be some underlying mental issue. Maybe. AVFC. I could not even guess what that stands for. My sister has AVFC says my sister has psychosis. She is paranoid, doesn't trust anyone, won't reply to my text or calls, won't answer the door. She goes out at night, no idea where she is most of the time, and she's in her 40s. That's frustrating. And until the user gets to the point where they genuinely want help, there's not a lot you can do other than let them know that you're there for them. And then when they're ready to make the decision, knowing that makes the decision an easier process. M. Torres says, do you do stories of only clean patients? I would love for you to interview my daughter. We'd be glad to do that. No, we don't really have any limits on the kind of stories that we do, other than that they be stories that matter, stories that people can grow from. That's pretty broad. And so a story from someone who is not clean, we can certainly do that. We have interviewed some people who live on the street and are dealing with some substance use disorder. The substance really doesn't matter. It isn't different behavior. It isn't different thinking. The substance only matters when it comes to medical treatment, to addressing the physical dependency, the physical withdrawals, things like that. But as far as dealing with the addiction, the substance really doesn't matter at all. Don't let me see where I'm at. So anyway, M. Torres, so we'd be happy to do a story about your daughter. The way it works is typically we have an event somewhere and people just sign up. It's really that easy. And so we're based in Houston, Texas, and we travel a lot, but that doesn't mean we get to wherever you are anytime soon. But there is a process for that as well. Sometimes someone will contact us, say they're in Duluth, Minnesota, and they want to share their story. And so we explain to them how our storytelling summits work. And then they will find us a location to shoot the stories in. Oftentimes it's a church or a office building, hotel, conference room kind of arrangement, something like that. Someplace that is big enough to fit a full-size SUV in. Not that we're going to put an SUV in the room, but that's about the amount of space that our interview setup requires. So large enough to accommodate a full-size SUV, private enough to be quiet, and has a room nearby where people can wait and people can fill out the form that they fill out for us when we do interviews. And then the local person starts finding other people who want to share a story, whether it's about fentanyl poisoning or cannabis-induced psychosis, human trafficking, domestic violence, or some other topic that we address, or some topic that we should address. And they start signing up, and we announce it on our Facebook page and on YouTube, and people sign up from that. And that's That's really it. We don't pay anyone anything. We don't charge anyone anything. That's that's how it works. It's easy. There's links on our website, texas-pictures.com. There's links on our website that explain how storytelling summits work and explain the process of sharing a story. So anyway, let me see where we're at here. Black Rain says, a young person at the age of 14 definitely should not be experimenting with drugs. So the question arises as to what they are trying to run from. You know, I remember let me see, I lost my place here. Sorry. All right. So when I was in middle school, that would have been 14 or freshman in high school, I guess. I remember some people who experimented with drugs that they never exhibited anything that implied they were running from something, but it's not the sort of thing you learn about in school, even if you're friends. So could be initially it could start with just wanting to fit in, or you're seeing your friends do it and they seem to be having a great time. And having a great time is appealing to most people. And so you try it. Let's see. It's not judgment, it's an observation. Yeah, and it's a good one. You're probably on target with most of the instances that evolve into addiction. Alejandro is trying to help an adult child battle this kind of illness is very difficult. For sure. For sure, there is only so much control you can exercise on an adult family member, child, sister, cousin, whatever. There's only so much control that you have over any adult. Talk up the truth says so many suffer with cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. This family story is sad. CHS is debilitating and a medical emergency. For sure. Just the physical impact that near constant vomiting has on a person's body, the dehydration and the tissue damage in the esophagus and things like that, that is brutal. Black Rain says that there is a mental health crisis going on, and the easiest remedy is to self medicate. Yeah. The easiest remedy. So let's look at why that's the easiest remedy. Why is it easier to self medicate than to talk about whatever mental health crisis is interfering with a person's life? And then we get into that whole stigma thing, that whole embarrassment thing, that whole thing about not wanting to come out and say, I have this mental disability. I have this problem that I know it's in my head, but I'm really struggling with it. People don't want to come out and say that. And if more people would, the more someone acknowledges a difficulty, the easier it becomes for everyone else to acknowledge a similar difficulty. Talk Up the Truth says, yes, completely abstaining from THC, whether it's smoked or eaten, is the only cure for cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Oh, I hope I'm saying that right. I am trying to keep track of these terms. Kimberly says, AVFC, we are all here for you and your sister. And M. Torres says, oh, I see. I'm in New Jersey. And we've had other inquiries from New Jersey. Several. And so the way that we deal with that, I can show you. Oh, where is it? The map. Not that map. That map. We travel. We travel quite a bit. And so this is the places that we've been in the last 2.5 years or so to record stories that matter, mostly stories about fentanyl, but also stories about domestic violence and addiction recovery, human trafficking, cannabis-induced psychosis, and other topics. So it's really about stories that matter, stories that other people would benefit from. So we travel a crazy amount. And we're glad to do it. In the course of doing all of these trips, we have met lots of really spectacular people. Maybe a couple of nut jobs too. But even them, they're awesome too. Because they're motivated. And these people we meet, they've already, in a lot of cases, in most cases, they've already had their loss. They lost the battle they were in, but they're still motivated to push forward and help others by making other people aware of their loved one's story. It's really an admirable thing. Yes, Kimberly, we'll do a story. We need to get to Memphis. And so, yes, we are glad to come to New Jersey. You're also welcome to come to Houston, and we can record your story in Houston anytime, as long as we're in town. And like we will be in town for most of the rest of 2025. We are going to Jackson, Mississippi, Ridgeland, Mississippi, technically, but the Jackson, Mississippi area. And we're going to be heading that way in a little less than a month. We'll be there near the end of November. So the way to connect with us and stay connected with us is to join our Facebook group. Sorry, got a lot going on here. The way to stay connected with us is to join our Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group. And what that means is you can't find our Facebook group by searching for it. It's by invitation only. So someone who is a member, which applies to most of our storytellers, can invite you if you ask them to, and typically they're happy to. Or you can friend me on Facebook. You can find me by my name. It's right there on the screen, right here. And you'll find me on Facebook. Send me a friend request, and then send me a message in Facebook Messenger and ask me to add you to our storyteller group. So the way that we work the storyteller group, virtually everyone who shared a story with us and everyone who wants to share a story with us that has reached out to us are members. And so whenever we have an event anywhere, we will announce the event typically in that group first. So that, say, we heard from someone in New Jersey, and if you join the group, you will not be the first person from Jersey. Say we heard from someone in New Jersey who organized a summit, will announce it in the group, and then other people that are in that area will know it's coming and can sign up for it when it happens. Yes, Kimberly, we're definitely going to do a story with you whenever we get to Memphis, for sure. For sure. And I'm pretty confident you'll be able to bring some other important storytellers along as well. Toke Up the Truth says, Kimberly, I think I misread your live chat message. Okay, I don't know what I missed. Black Rain says an active, productive young person needs to be engaged in extracurricular activities or sports. Basically, you're saying it's good to be busy, and it is. It is. There's an expression about idle hands in the devil's workshop or something. It's good to be busy. It's good to have something that you're passionate about. That could be extracurricular activities. It could be being in band, or it could be being on a sports team or something like that. Or you could have a passion for building things, or learning to play the guitar, or whatever. Just something that that occupies your passion. Ideally, that involves others. Black Rain says, "Ooh, hold on. I lost my space again. I lost my place. Parents need to be actively involved. The average parent today spends just as much time on social media as their children." Okay, Black Rain, that sounds a little scary. Sounds like it could be accurate, but is there, where does that data come from? I'm not trying to argue, but it carries a lot more weight if there's some place I can point to. You know what I mean? So Kimberly says we have bigger problems. People are lacing fentanyl with cannabis now. Yeah. The other way around, I think people are putting fentanyl on cannabis. And but yeah, fentanyl is you have to believe fentanyl is in everything that's on the street. It's not, but it's in somewhere around 75% of what's on the street. It is not a good bet. Children need engagement and interaction, Black Rain says. Adults do too. Everyone, people need engagement and interaction. That's part of what brings us here, I believe. Alejandro says, I think in order to overcome an addiction, the patient has to get into a restricted rehabilitation program, and it takes a lot of work and effort from the patient. Yeah, the patient has to really want to. And the rehabilitation center has to make it easier to want to than to relapse. And one of the key things about rehab centers, is the community, is the support that comes from others. That's the same reason AA works for so many people, is the support, the accountability, and the responsibility to others. That when someone goes to AA and they get a sponsor, they're they have the support of that sponsor, and they're also accountable to that sponsor. And ideally, when they have a victory, when they reach a 1 week, 1 month, 1 year sober landmark, they want to share it with the sponsor. So Black Rain says, I have no qualms with smoking. I smoked for almost 20 years, starting at the age of 28. There's plenty of people who have experienced smoking marijuana who never encountered any identifiable problem that you could associate with marijuana use. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It may not have happened, but it could just as easily be something else. Or cannabis use. There's a perspective, another thing that we see a lot with comments from people who are defending cannabis is they will say something kind of like what you said about not having any qualms. They'll say, I've been smoking for 20 years, I've been smoking for 30 years, 50 years, whatever. And I've never had any problem. I've never seen anyone have a problem. And the mentality with that, it seems to me to imply that they believe that using cannabis makes them an expert on cannabis. And it certainly doesn't work that way. I have been using a car since 1977, but I'm not an expert on cars. I know a bit about cars, but I'm no expert. So, aside from that, this is not Woodstock weed anymore. This is not the weed that was around 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's different now. It's far more potent, and things like vapes and edibles, it's not the same. It's not remotely close to the same. It's not. One of the big arguments we hear is that well, it's natural. And no, it isn't. It's not. It's genetically engineered. It's grown to be more potent. It is modified to be more potent. And it's funny to me that a lot of cannabis defenders are very critical of industry. They're critical of the pharmaceutical industry. They'll accuse us of working for the pharmaceutical industry because we publish content that's critical of cannabis, or that we're working for the alcohol industry because we're being critical of cannabis, or that we're working for the tobacco industry because we're being critical of cannabis. So, in their minds, all of those industries are devious and evil. But somehow, the marijuana industry is sanctified. The marijuana industry can do no wrong. They won't do what all other industries do. They act according to what will do best for their bottom line, what will make their business more profitable. Because, holy cow, they're a business, and businesses have to be profitable to survive, to continue to exist. So that's another funny thing about a lot of cannabis defenders. So children do, but in my generation, it was different. You have to fit in with other kids. Yeah, that's a thing. Here we go again. If I do that, I can. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Okay, here we go. I'm trying to get back to where I was. Children do, but in my generation, okay. Uh, Alejandro says black rain, the type of cannabis nowadays is way stronger. Yeah, that's yeah. What she said. I don't like cannabis, but I enjoyed the marijuana leaf at the age of 15. And Kimberly, you're a bit older than 15 now. Talk about the truth, which I'm pretty sure I know who you are. When an industry says it will help with mental health, anxiety, depression, and is safe, natural, but THC use can absolutely worsen those symptoms. That is a driving force in the mental health crisis. Yeah, it is. Talk up the truth here is 100% right. There's substantial, extensive research worldwide that supports what Toke Up the Truth has just said here. Kimberly says, Alejandra, I agree, cannabis is stronger, not just a leaf. THC is THC is THC, says Toke Up the Truth. 10% is considered high potency when it's cannabis or hemp. Black Rain said 72% of U.S. adults use social media, with one survey finding 87% use it daily. Mm. Glow in the dark. Look who's here. Thank you for joining us. It has been a while, hasn't it? Talk Up the Truth says an estimated 2.75 million suffer with cannabis hyperemesis syndrome every year. Glenn, you're doing great with the pronunciation. Yeah, I'm trying. Thank you very much. Uh, well, in the dark, let's see. Look, I'm almost caught up here. Oh, no, maybe not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that cannabis affects a lot of parents and kids. So Kimberly asks where you been, Glow. Well, that's a reasonable question. Because it's been a while. So where you been, Glow? No pressure. Just wondering where you been. So far, the latest cannabis story, the one that just premiered not quite an hour ago, has had over 600 views. That's awesome. Glow in the Dark says been doing some home renovations. That sounds. That sounds okay. The biggest thing that I have learned so far in this journey relating to cannabis is we don't know what we think we know. Cannabis defenders, they don't know what they think they know. Cannabis defenders will present as fact things that are just anecdotal or things that they were told by a guy in a vape shop who just really seemed to know his stuff. There's no genuine research behind it. And for those who do have genuine research behind it, they're much harder to challenge with facts. And so the way that cannabis defenders tend to challenge them is with statements like uh, deflection statements, like saying, yeah, but what about alcohol? Alcohol's way worse. No, it's really not. Alcohol has tons of dangers and risks and harmful effects. Pretty much we all know about that. And everybody agrees about it. You don't hear an alcohol user saying, no, it's safe. It's been around since before Jesus. Nobody says that. Nobody defends alcohol the way some cannabis users will jump up and defend cannabis. Using what they believe are facts, but they don't know. They don't know. Oh, some of them are hilarious. AWFC, choke up the truth. My sister doesn't want him. He insists she's fine. She's been hospitalized before and was on medication, but decided to come off them. Glow in the Dark says, I've been watching the videos posted after work, but I never catch you guys on live, so it's nice to say hi and hear from you all and see you, Glenn. Hi. So, thank you, Glow in the Dark. It's cool that you're here. Nux is missing. You remember Nux, right? Brenda is usually on in the evenings. Brenda is at like day 416, maybe, sober days. That's awesome. Brad and Carla aren't here either, I don't think. Brad's probably taking a nap because, he's old. But I think I have an experience personally. I think they haven't experienced it personally, so they don't understand that things are changing in our youth and that this danger is not the same marijuana. It's not. That's an excellent point. Another thing that stands out to me is that users don't view it as the same kind of social thing anymore. And there's something to that. The social environment reinforces uh, constructive limits, social limits. In the fentanyl world and the addiction world, one of the real common sayings is never use alone. And so that's a thing now where more and more cannabis users are just sitting on their back porch or sitting in a room in their house, just using cannabis alone. That's sad. That's sad the same way drinking alone is sad. And there's this burning desire among a lot of users to defend it. And there's all kinds of behaviors and practices that involve risk, like drinking, like alcohol, or like skydiving or car racing or bungee jumping, football. There's a lot of things that involve some sort of risk, and typically the people who participate in those things don't deny the risk, except for the cannabis folks. Well, guys, talk up the truth. You just said I was doing so good with pronunciation, and that anis anisgno. Yeah, see, you had to say I was doing the pronunciation just right. Yeah, you had to. Kimberly asks, are both of our storytellers with us? And I don't know, are both of the storytellers here in the live event? Sergio and Gladys? It's a weird thing, folks. That I'm looking here, and I'm looking down here, and I'm looking over here, and so there's a lot going on. That down here is where I read the comments, and then talk to you or try to talk to you when I respond to them. But then there's other things going on. There's a display over here that tells me things about how many people are watching and uh, how the story that just premiered is doing, and all kinds of nifty things like that. I see we have 13 likes. We have 37 people in this event right now, and we have 13 likes. No pressure. So there's a story that we've been working on that is going to premiere hopefully sometime late next week. And this story is about full extract cannabis oil being used as a treatment for a child who was 3 years old who had a brain tumor. And it's a pretty complex story. There's changing hospitals. There's errors made by hospitals, and initially, at the initial diagnosis, when the tumor in her brain, what her father described as a baseball-sized tumor in a 2.5-year-old girl's brain, her diagnosis was that it was terminal, that she had somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months to live. They were wrong. They were wrong. So it is a complex story, but I think it will really impact viewers. That it's powerful. And in fact, right now, 2 medical doctors have a draft of the story and they're reviewing it to give us feedback to try to keep everything as as well-rounded, accurate, informative, and constructive as possible. So, Kimberly, no, they shouldn't. Insanely heartbreaking and suddenly happens too often. And with weed use. And Kimberly says, well, I'm an old schooler. I've been clean 11 years now off cannabis and not leaf. So I'm 60. So Choco Up the Truth says I have to drop the live after. Thank you to these brave parents in Texas Pictures for bringing all of these very devastating risks of use to light. And that's really the key right there, the risks of use. Just like there is risks associated with alcohol and there's risks associated with any kind of drug use, and there's risks associated with tobacco, and there's risks associated with too much sugar. There's risks out there with anything that can, pretty much anything you can do, and certainly anything you can overdo. And you can certainly overdo cannabis. You can certainly overdo sugar and donuts. So I like how you said that. Risks of use. The risks. And to pretend they don't exist is just stupid. Stupid. Yes, Kimberly, I'm glad to. So we have been here close to an hour, so it is going to be about time to wrap it up pretty soon. But I really wanted to spend some time with you folks in the afternoon because we get a little bit of a different crowd in the afternoon. Some of the people that are regularly on our evening events aren't here. Not that I was trying to get rid of them, but we have some new faces, and we have some less frequent faces that show up in the afternoon, perhaps because afternoons are easier for them. Maybe. So we're up to 15 likes now, 15 thumbs up. Uh, you know, there's 38 people in the room right now, and only 50, that's less than half of you guys. Just a thumbs up click. That'd be awesome. Anyway, so watch for what's coming next. I have high hopes that we're going to see, that we're going to have, we're going to see. I say we're going to see because we have other editors that are involved in the production process, and we have several stories that are out with the editors right now, and as soon as they come back, they're going to get in the queue for being published on the channel, usually as a premiere, but probably not always. So we are going to wrap it up for this afternoon. We've been here, let's see, well, almost 57 minutes. And I want to thank everyone. My mom can't find the like button. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. It is always great to hear from you guys and to get the feedback and the insights and all of that comes from what you folks share during these live events. So I'm certainly grateful for that, and grateful for the efforts that you folks make to keep in touch, to share things and all of that. So I always like to remind you guys that we are always here for you. We're always available. And so you can reach us by email at info@texas-pictures.com. You can find us on Facebook by searching for my name, Glenn Muse. We also have a presence that's pretty substantial on TikTok. And you can learn more about us at our website, texas-pictures.com. You can find out how to organize a storytelling summit in your area, how the interview process works. There's a link to our merchandise store on our homepage. And there's other information about us, like a mailing address, phone number, and all of that good stuff that you typically find on a website. So thank you all again for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Happy